I will throw out, it's always important to remember, if you read a book and you find it particularly well edited, check the credits in the front of the book. A lot of freelancers, I plug my email or the website for all of my editors because they're freelance and they want more work. And so if you go and you check the credits and there has a contact information, pretty good chance that editor is available.
This might, sorry to interrupt, but this might be too big of a question, but I have no idea how much it would cost. Like, what's a...
You would expect it to be priced per word, probably.
Okay.
So how big is your book is kind of the question.
And then, like, what is the price per word? What's a range that is typical?
James, I feel like maybe you should.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that one. So, typically the pricing is usually based on what it is exactly you're asking the editor to do.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the last projects I worked on was just a proof editing project, right? So that's where my assumption is that the content is finished. We're not doing anything more to that. My sole job is just to look at grammar, punctuation, that kind of stuff. And projects like that are usually a little bit cheaper because they tend to go a little bit faster. And I guess a typical 50,000 word book usually clocks in somewhere around $2 to $3 grand,
okay.
Usually in that range. And then if you get into like copy and line and stuff, it starts to get a little bit funnier. But I guess I do less development these days. But I also find that a lot of clients I talk to don't really have a great sense of what that means to them.
Is development more expensive than proofing,
yes,
or is it? Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah.
And usually, like I think the last project I worked on that was called development. The editor hit me up to help them do the initial planning. So I was building outlines, and we were discussing like how they were going to architect the book in the first place. And then basically, there was certainly an expense attached to that. And then what I was doing is I would take the draft, the pieces of the draft that they were working on, and edit those as kind of they were going through it. And by the time they were done, we had a manuscript that was polished enough to be ready to go into proofing. That's kind of how that usually works in my
Do you both understand what we mean when we say developmental editor?
I didn't know that was a thing, but I think, do you want to
It's
say a little bit
basically
about it?
when you're working on the story, before you worry about the grammar and the punctuation, are we maintaining the same point of view from a character? Are we hopping to different characters? Are we being consistent in the way a character is behaving? Are we, is there a part that's suddenly referencing something that happened 10 years ago that doesn't really fit the current scene? That's that really high level stuff before you even worry about the nitty gritty. That's where developmental only comes in.
And I will say I see a lot of manuscripts in which you do a bit of both. Where like the developmental side and shall we say the line copy editing side kind of happen simultaneously. My general rule of thumb is I think of it as how much I'm comfortable suggesting that be changed or be cut. Right? If I'm just doing like a copy edit, I'm going to assume that this is how you want the plot line to run. Right? But if I get into a manuscript and I start finding lots of inconsistencies, that's when I'll go back to the writer and be like, okay, look, we should really talk about how we restructure some of this. This part maybe could go, or just revisit it, or whatever. Although I kind of like what you said about using the text to speech.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I have suggested to many writers is you might try reading this out loud and seeing how it feels.
That actually came out of me not being able to stare at the computer screen. Because when I had a blood clot in my brain when I started writing this, I couldn't look at a screen for more than 5 minutes. So the first 40,000 words of this were dictated through text-to-speech software, which that was very interesting to go back and read later on. But I started using it reading to me as a way to minimize my disability side effects.
I remember I worked with one writer who he said his process involved he would dictate his manuscript like into a voice memo, and then he would hand it off to his cousin.
Yeah. Phil Milton wrote a lot of his, not dictating, but they're writing it, saying it out loud, having his daughters write.
You know, one thing I read in the book on writing by Stephen King, and he talks about, he says, you know, all of your work should be high quality.
Yeah.
But one thing you have to have a tough skin about is, and I've been there, we've all been there, is you have a huge section that you poured your heart into, you're like, this is wonderful, and your editor says, yeah, that entire thing, throw it out. And most of the time, they're right, because it doesn't further the story. Kill your darlings, exactly.
I do want to kick back on that a little bit. I feel like that gets misused. Like,
If it doesn't develop the
if
story.
it doesn't develop the story,
If
like,
it does.
yes, kill your darlings, but like, I find that people are a little too gung-ho sometimes on that one. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, no, like, really, like, sit up. It's like, you understand that this is setting up XYZ DLC. Like, I don't know. I will rework something usually before I will throw it away, because a lot of my stuff builds on one of the things. It's like, if you cut this, then this doesn't make sense 10 chapters later. And that's something you probably have to be aware of when we're talking still about editing and stuff, is you know your story better than anyone else. So if you know you're foreshadowing something, if you know you're setting up something, you know, you kind of have to be willing to be like, well, this is going to be, I guess, a bad read on the first one, and then when they come back to the series, it's going to be a goddamn bombshell.
That was a lot of my notes for this one from from my editors, was this does not make sense, and I'm like, that will make sense in 2 more books, because it's a trilogy.
I will say,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
no, please.
The one exception to the Kill Your Darlings is if you're writing romance and it is smut, you can leave that in. Just make sure it's good smut.
Also, I can't talk for traditional publishing versus indie. The vast majority of people I know do indie publishing. So you're your own self-publisher. And part of that is, unlike in traditional publishing, that editor's not your boss. So they're, to Drew's point, they're having times where they said, hey, I want you to cut this. I was like, no, I like it, I'm keeping it. But even in that, there's usually some modification to it. You know, I usually look at it and go, wait a minute, you know, this is 5 pages long. It really should be 1 page long, better done. So, you know, there is that give and take. But I agree with you, Drew. You don't always just automatically, just because the editor says throw this out, you don't throw it out. But you want to take a hard look at it, because a lot of times the editor's right. It didn't further the story. It was unnecessary fluff.
And this is where having the right editor that you have a good relationship really matters, because those debates, if you have the right person, are not as difficult. They're easier to stomach. Whereas if you don't have the right editor, it can just blow up and be more stress than you want it to be.
And the editor gets better over time too, just like you do. You learn things about them, they learn things about you. And I found it improves quite a bit over time. You know, working with them and then working with you as far as getting a better product.
I will say in my own experience, it's a highly collaborative process. Like, your editor's not going to come in and make the world a better place. It really is, it's a matter, you have a dialogue with them, right? In which you kind of explore how one another approaches these questions of style and grace, as it were. But I will say, like, when I do edit, when I'm doing my editing work, one of my pet peeves is authors, like, I think when I edit a book, you can't believe in spoilers, right? So when you do when you have your preliminary conversation with your editor, never be coy, right? Just be honest about what it is you're trying to do, honest about where the story's going, and don't never tell me, well, you'll see in the end. I don't fucking care. I would really rather know now. So when I get to the end, I kind of know what to expect, and we can decide if it works.
Makes sense.
Although the counterpoint in there, I don't want to write an email detailing out 8 pages of books of content to get through. Like, no, that's why.
I always do like a 30-minute to an hour-long interview with every author I work with. In which we can kind of go over that.
Oh.
It's the Cliff's Notes version, I know that, but I can say that every time an author's like tried to keep the surprise for the end, it's always been a mess.
Well, for your editor, yeah.
And for an
I don't want to
editor.
surprise my editor. I don't want to not surprise.
I have a question. Circling back to you were using a text-to-speech. What software, what apps, what do you guys use to actually write? Because I know that there's a lot on the marker. I mean, some people use notes on their phone.
I use Scrivener when I write. And then as far as formatting side of it, I use Vellum. So those are the 2 I use.
You use which one?
So Scrivener is for my
Scrivener,
writing,
yeah.
and then I use Vellum when it comes to
Vellum.
formatting.
Okay.
because I found it's pretty seamless with being able to make the EPUB files and being able to make both print and ebook versions.
Did you ever do the old version of messing with Calibre? And
No, I'm still too new.
coming from that to develop was like, words can't even describe it. It's so much easier. It used to be like a 5-hour goddamn process to make an ebook and a print book.
Yeah, I would highly recommend, and I'm new, like I said, I've worked in this 2 years. I'm learning still, and for me, those two have worked really well. I don't know what you all use for
So I
experience.
also use Scrivener. However, I use the phone app because I can't do long writing sessions. I have like 5 to 10 minutes a lot of time throughout my day. I can get a little bit in, and then sometimes I can get an hour, hour and a half. But by having it on my phone, if I have an idea or I have the energy throughout my day, it's right there. And it syncs to Dropbox, so I can go onto my computer and it's all there together. And also it's been wonderful because I get a lot of story ideas that I should not be working on right now. And so I can go in and I can make notes on those other stories in Scrivener. And I counted recently, it's over 50 projects in Scrivener that will eventually get written. And so if I have an idea for one of those, I can jot it down and not forget the idea and then come back to it when it's the right time. As far as the speech to text, this was literally just me hitting the mic in my notes app on my phone and talking to it. I do not recommend that. That got chaotic. I had to load that into Word later on. This was before I was writing in Scrivener. And then I just will like select a section of my work and do the long press on my phone and hit speak, and it'll read it to me. It's very mechanical, very weird, but it's really helpful for me.
Another thing on Scrivener too that I noticed is, remember, it's the tool for you to write, it's not a homework assignment. So even though it has sections for everything in there, from characters to scenes, you don't have to use all the tools in there. Use it however works best for you. So everybody has their own system that they develop for where they want to put things in Scrivener. That's why I use that program.
Are you guys familiar with Scrivener?
No, I'm not. Is it
So
with
Scrivener's
V
a-
or the V
I
or?
would describe it as a document management platform in a lot of
Okay.
ways. What makes it particularly powerful, I think, is the way that it allows you to, like, when I've used it, you'll have like this main section, you call it manuscript. And, like, imagine like each of your chapters broken out into individual files. It makes it really easy to reference back. It makes it really easy to bounce around.
Yeah.
So unlike working directly in like Google Docs or Microsoft Word, where it's really linear,
Yeah.
Scrivener is good for people that, like, I've got a great idea for scenes, so you write that.
Yeah.
You've got a place to put it. It's easy to organize and easy to map out. It's got a bunch of like, I don't know, I've never really messed around with the chord function much, but it does all this. It's got all this like weird stuff in the background you can do that.
Yeah.
If you're super bored or whatever.
It is a paid subscription though. So.
Okay, good.
No.
Do you?
Well, they have a free version, but I thought the
So-
nice version
I
was.
just bought mine.
You buy it once.
Oh,
and
okay.
that's it.
Well, but
Yeah.
it's not a free tool.
It's not a free tool.
No, but it's not
Scrivener,
expensive.
I don't
It's
think
like,
anything we're talking about is.
it's like $40 or $50.
They just went up to 60. However, the app on the phone is only 20. So if you're looking at a place to start, that's a really easy, cheap way to do it.
Now, mind you, you can do something similar with, like, you've got like an Apple, like the Apple Notes app kind of has a similar sort of layout interior, in its interior. So you could probably bounce around it that way. It's just,
I will throw out, it's not as good for multi-purpose as Scrivener, but I use Microsoft Word for writing for the simple fact that I outsource my editing. And Scrivener is fun, but you can't depend on an editor having access to the ability to edit on Scrivener files, whereas you can always depend on an editor having access to Microsoft Word. It's just an industry standard.
and I think I would
Scrivener
add,
does
that-
compile. I mean,
Yeah,
you
it
compile on
does.
Scrivener too.
But
But
when you're wiggling back and forth, sometimes you get some formatting stuff. It's
Sure.
better, it's cleaner in my experience to keep it in one file format. Now, maybe people better at tech than me can like bounce them back and forth without issue, but I still use Excel for my my outlining portions for the simple fact that I have a data management background. So I'm just used to like putting everything in a cell and making it look
I think a lot of that is also that you want to learn what works best for you. I mean, Stephen King and all these other great authors, okay, they use manual typewriters. And so you can get it done without these tools, but any tool that helps you, that's worth the money, you can afford it, I would say go for it. Yes.
I'm a word perfect person still.
Oh, wow.
I will use Word for editing for that exact same reason, and I just export it, and then once I'm at the point that I've exported it, I work until it's completely done in the Word documents, because it's a lot of back and forth with the editor. And then once it's done, I just copy and paste and replace and
Just-
hit the format. Yeah.
See, I'm used to
Just so you know,
still hand
the
outlining
industry
stuff.
standard, correct me if I'm wrong, is all of your editors are gonna use track changes with Microsoft Word.
Yep.
So that is what you're gonna have to get into in order to send it to your editor.
I have done a couple projects in Google Docs.
Yeah, okay,
It's got a track changes function and it's okay.
okay.
I-
Well, I stand corrected, Google Docs also, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can, it's something I don't see a lot of.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you. The industry standard is Microsoft Word. Everybody just uses that. So, you know, to go back to the point about Scrivener, what you were saying, you know, when you're ready to send it on to an editor, compile it, one document, you know,
And
no
for me-
editor wants 50 million text
For
documents.
me, I use Scrivener to create it, and then, once I put it in the Microsoft document, can't talk, into the Microsoft document, then, as the editor and I go back for track changes, now I stay on that one. But to originally do my first draft of it, I usually use Scrivener, then after that, it goes to track changes.
I'll throw out Campfire too. I think they have a free version. They have browser support. It's just a little outlining thing. It's not terribly far from Scrivener in some of the formats, but it's pretty user friendly. And again, I feel like they have some free options that are at least enough to let you try it out, which is more than some of them.
Well, Scrivener technically has a free trial. It's, I think, like 45 days or something like that. And I got that 6 years ago, and I still haven't paid for Scrivener other than the phone app, because I do so much in the phone, and then I just go and do the final stuff on the computer.
So save money, watch out for it. I would do that.
I bought 2 Scrivener licenses like 12 years ago. Maybe longer now.
Oh, I use Vellum for formatting, like RK, and it is truly, if you have access to a Mac, it is the easiest, most seamless way to format your book into ebook and print. EPUB, I think, is the standardized format now. There used to be a different one, but it's just that one, and it's just, I can't even put it into words. It used to be like you would switch it over in Calibra, and then you would fix all the problems that would manifest, and then you would move it into Sigil, fix all the problems that hadn't caught in Calibra, and it was just, Vellum is amazing. If you can, I would.
I had this Linux box that I never touched before, but those softwares are all installed.
And they all have some learning curve to them, so you will have to play around with it and learn. Even Vellum, you have to check to make sure it's formatted the way you like. But I wasn't around for the other systems, but I heard the horror stories. So yeah, I think
Does
that's
Vellum
what.
handle images and text? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've, the few times I've attempted to do layout, I've had to do it in InDesign, because that's the standard for most role-playing gaming systems, because they're much more image heavy.
I've never done image heavy. I've done a couple, but nothing like.
Well, when you have stat blocks and character art and
Yeah,
breakout boxes and all that kind of stuff, it's
I don't know. InDesign might be the one for that, but I mean, Vellum might be up to it. It's pretty good. This panel is sponsored by Vellum.
Vellum and Scrivener should send us a little tab.
All right.
Welcome to learning
So
shirts.
we've only got a,
It's 5 minutes.
oh, thank you. We only have about 5 minutes left, so, and I don't know if we can actually cover this in 5 minutes. We talked a lot about writing, the process of building out a manuscript, right? Get it developed, you get your formatting done, then what?
Market. You will spend more time marketing your books than you will like actually doing the writing. Because readers can resonate with your story all they want if they know you exist. But it's getting them to know you exist that is exhausting.
Discoverability is the hardest thing. by far.
Yeah.
Getting your book in front of their eyes, because you have to be the top 100 on Amazon for it to even see.
Yeah.
What about distribution? How do you guys handle that these days?
Well, I was gonna say for your question of what next, I can kind of circle into the distribution. I think the answer to what next is you need to figure out what you want this book to be and to do. For example, if you really want to see this book on a bookshelf, you should probably start chasing traditional publishing, which means querying agents, looking at what publishing houses handle that sort of genre and print and et cetera. If that's not the thing, if you just want to see it existing and have people reading it, then indie is probably a genre you can go down the field of, but that means researching your cover artists, your editors, all the small things that go into actually having to run that yourself. So I think probably then after your book is done, because nothing happens until the book is finished, really interrogating what you want to do with this project is a great way to figure out what's the right path, because there are a lot of pluses and minuses to each path.
There's a lot of nuances to it, like this one, I just released on Amazon when I first did it, and that is part of the reason why it ranked so well, is because Amazon liked the exclusivity of it. However, now that I am writing more and have gone wide, I'm having to do a complete re-release of this because it doesn't have a traditional ISBN number, and that has been hell. I do not recommend it. And then like,
You're saying get an ISBN.
get an ISBN number. It might seem like an expensive thing, get an ISBN number. It is
That's
worth
off
it.
of Boker.
Bowker,
yeah.
yeah.
Unless anybody else knows different.
No,
It's the
that's
only
the
one.
one, don't go anywhere else.
It's a standardized system.
What was it you said?
The International Series,
Yes,
serial
ISBN,
number,
yeah.
or serial book
Yeah.
number, whatever it is, yeah, it's.
So the problem is Amazon offers a free one, but the problem is your ISBN belongs to Amazon, not you. So the problem is you can never use that ISBN anywhere except Amazon. So
Yeah.
buy your own ISBNs.
And where do you buy it?
Boker, Bowker, am I saying it right?
It's
Yeah,
Bowker, yeah,
Bowker.
Bowker. I will actually say, I don't know, so this kind of circles back to what do you want out of this book? If you don't ever foresee taking this book and doing a print edition through an Ingram or an individual press or anything, I don't know that you have to spend the money for an ISBN, because an Amazon will, if you don't have a desire to take it and make a print version that you will possess and kind of run to different spots, I don't know that that's an expense that you have to spend if that's not something you want. If it is, they're 1,000% right, get your own ISBN.
And it used to be, and forgive me, I'm a little out of touch on this one, used to be that if you bought like a bundle of them, it wasn't prohibitively expensive.
I just did this, it's still expensive.
It's still expensive.
Do
But,
you remember what you paid if I'm not-
I don't remember off the top of my head, I originally
So-
bought 10, and I wanna say it was like $150 or $200, and then I went and bought 100 for $500.
Yeah.
So the price per ISBN goes down when you buy a larger number, but it's not inexpensive.
I just did it this year in 270 for 10.
Oh, it's $270.
It's 270 for 10. But if you do the big bulk, like if you're going to be publishing a lot, and another thing to think about is each different format gets its own ISBN. So like ebook, hardcover. So you go through them quickly. But another thing is like if you want to see your book in stores, do not print through Amazon. Bookstores will not carry it if it is printed through Amazon, which is why I went through Ingram Spark for this one. Ingram Spark has its own things that you need to be wary of. One in particular, it's gonna hurt, you're gonna hate it, but there are two options if a book gets returned from a bookstore. One is that the book gets burned, and one is that the book gets mailed back to you. If the book gets mailed back to you, you will spend more than you can making the book on shipping, because you have to pay for what the bookstore originally
They can
bought it
refund
for.
the bookstore.
Yeah, you're refunding what the bookstore bought it at, as well as shipping on top of that. So you're spending way more money than it's worth. And it hurts to have your books burned, but it is the more affordable option.
Now, if you publish on Ingram Spark, that also gives you Amazon distribution, doesn't it?
It does. It gives you Amazon, it gives you Barnes and Noble. I'm having to battle Barnes and Noble right now because I have a weird character in this title. It's got the accent over the A, and that did not there's like a % sign or something in the middle of the title. And I'm like, can you fix this, please?
I mean, you guys chime in on this as well. I know we're getting to the end of our time. One thing I highly recommend is, from what I've learned speaking with others, is as far as ebook distribution, it seems like Amazon KDP Select is the way to go. However, also put it on Ingram Sparks. The one thing you don't want to do, that I'm battling with right now, is do not check expanded distribution on your print book with Amazon, because what happens is, even though I own that ISBN, when I went over, I have 2 books that I did that on before I learned not to do that. And now that I've gone to Ingram Sparks, it's been over a month, and typically they're telling me it can take 2-3 months or more before Amazon releases me to allow me to have my own ISBN back for Ingram Sparks. So do not check the expanded distribution on the print version.
I know
You
with
can have
that,
both at the same time. You can do Ingram and Amazon's.
if you choose KDP Select on your ebook, you can have your ebook on Kindle without it being KDP Select. If it is Select, then you are saying to Amazon that it is exclusive,
For
which for ebook, which means you can't upload it to Ingram Spark.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I just do print only on Ingram Sparks.
So
There's
be
no-
careful of like some of the legalities, because you don't want someone like Amazon coming after you.
And also the nice thing too, like you say, is that it's only 90 days for the KDP Select. So if you select it and you decide later, hey, I really do no longer want to be exclusive to them, in 90 days you can change your mind.
Yeah.
So yes, I would definitely recommend the ebooks being sold through Amazon, and then through print books, Amazon and Ingram Sparks.
And don't forget audiobook. That's a huge market, huge.
It is very
And you guys-
expensive.
Yeah, that's the reason I don't have audiobooks for these versions is because of that. So do you have any
So-
recommendations on?
I have a bunch of, So I just partnered with Laura Horowitz to do an audiobook version of this. Now, she won the Goodreads Choice Award for audio narration last year, so she is crazy busy and it won't come out till next year. But it's running me around $3,600 to do, and this is like 85,000 words. There are other options. There is a studio, and I am blanking on the name, but there's a studio local here in Denver that started out doing audio recordings for bands, and they've moved into doing author narrated audiobooks. They've worked with the Big Five, and I can go through my email if you're curious about that. And they charge by the hour for that.
And there's groups like Fiverr too, so don't get discouraged if you don't have a large budget, if you're doing this shoestring budget or no budget. There are ways to do it.
Well, I mean, there's
It's
ACX.
harder,
Yeah,
but there's
I
ways
was
to
just
do
about
it.
to say that.
Yeah, so there is an indie version of this called Amazon Creation Services, ACX. Effectively, you go in, you submit a manuscript, you shop it around to narrators. They will you can either do a royalty split or you can pay per hour. My understanding is it's very hard to get a royalty split unless you're an established name, so probably don't count on
I did an ACX, so you pay them out. I didn't do royalty, you just pay them straight.
That's usually the thing is, I've done one, I did a royalty split, but most of my audio has gone through a company called Tantor. And they are, so Tantor, Podium, and companies like them are audiobook production companies. So they will pick up your audio rights and they'll make audiobook versions. So if you don't want to do the hassle of your own audiobook, sometimes it's worth submitting to them. Again, like anything, it's easier kind of as you build up your track record, but I think I got it with Tantor when I was like 5 books in. So it's definitely not impossible by any means.
Now, are they the ones you're saying kind of like traditional publishing? Tantor does like the audiobook, but they take the rights kind of more like traditional publishing?
It's very similar. So it's truly like, here's my manuscript, word for word. They will have a narrator kind of make an audio version of it. I've been very lucky with my narrators. They're both very talented. And yeah, but I mean, there's not really like, they don't develop it or anything. So I did Audible originals for one of my book series, the 5-Minute Sherlock series. And that one, they do truly act as a publisher. They edit it, they do the cover, everything. Now that one, Audible originals, you pretty much have to be in the audiobook market and doing stuff to kind of get in with them because they're Audible. They're trying to build their stuff off the successes as much as they can. But your production companies, your Podiums, your Tantors, they're a lot more willing to just work with authors that they see potential in and pick up those audiobooks and hopefully make something really good out of them.
And if you're looking for a place to like learn more about this in the craft, there is an organization called Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers that's here local to Colorado. And every year we have a writers conference. This year it's going to be the last weekend of September, and there's over 130 classes in the course of 3 days. And there's a virtual option to where you can go back and watch the classes later if there's 2 at the same time. But it covers just about every topic and every question you could in depth.
I think we are well over time.
We are. This seems like a really good conversation if you guys want to keep hanging out, but I do have to pack up the stream. So if you have one final word of advice for all the people watching at home that you want to impart right now, please do.
My biggest one is don't give up on it. If you want to write, it costs you nothing to finish writing your first book. If it's just for you and you don't show it to other people, go ahead and write it. You can always work from there to publish it later. And all of us will agree, the best thing you can do as an author is have lots of books. So, because later on down the road, you're going to have to entice readers to join your newsletter by giving things away, like a short story or a chapter of your book. So, write, and don't worry about what it's going to cost down the road. Write your book, go through your passion, then decide, okay, where am I going to go from a business standpoint? But be a writer first, make your book.
I second that. I would add, it's going to destroy you mentally sometimes. Keep going through it. Like, there are some times that are very difficult and very challenging, and they're going to make you feel horrible, but once you get through it, it's so worth it. So keep going.
And try not to take rejection personally, because you're gonna get rejected a lot.
I would say make a habit of finishing your projects, especially early on. There's a common issue of folks who will start writing a book and then kind of lose momentum and then go back and start a new one, and then get to the end of book 10 and actually start reaching that third act and realize they don't have any practice in writing endings. All they've written are startings and middles, and it's a skill. It takes practice, and every different part of the story is going to have slightly different requirements. So even if you know that that book is not going to make it to publication, understand that you're putting in work and exercise to build that foundation. So make a habit of finishing your books whenever possible.
And that first great review you get, makes it all worth it. He's that first person who loved your book. That's a great day.